Well, I don't know about you, but I sprung out of bed this morning and I said to myself, it's the Lipedema Patient Roundtable. And I am so glad to welcome all of you as you are logging on and joining. Please let us know that you are here in chat. Hello, awesome panelists. You know our regulars, Jenny Bogine, Lipedema and Food Sensitivities, Susie Boshoff of lipedema.living, the Lippy Butterfly, Angelique Charles, Lipedema Fitness, Pattie Cornute, Pale Ginger Pear, Kara Cruz, our resident medical expert, Linda Ann Kahn. So wonderful to see you. I know you have to bounce in a half hour, so we will try to incorporate you quickly. And our special guest tonight, if you have any questions about fibrosis and are interested in an upcoming study that Karen Ashforth is doing with Dr. Karen Herbst, stay tuned. Karen Ashforth, great to see you. It's a pleasure. And then Susan O'Hara, legs like mine, and the founder of the American Lipedema Association. What's that, you say? Well, we're going to find out about that too. So here we are looking at the chat, seeing who's in the house. It's going to be a great night. And maybe we'll start out with that question. American Lipedema Association. Susan O'Hara, tell all.
I'm happy to tell about it. So, a couple of years ago, I was able to go to the Lipedema World Alliance meeting in Potsdam, Germany. And they are a new organization that's international in nature. And you have to be a member of a patient organization that's a nonprofit in order to be like a voting member or be invited to the meetings and that sort of thing. In the United States, we didn't really have a nonprofit that was inexpensive for patients to join together. So we actually just formed one. And the purpose of it is advocacy, 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 and to be able to represent patients at that Lipedema World Alliance area. So actually, Pattie Cornute is on the board along with Dr. Thomas Wright. And we are actually getting some stuff done. In this first couple of months, we have partnered up with the Lipedema Foundation and been able to submit some letters highly encouraging the CDC to incorporate ICD-10 codes for lipedema. Dr. Herbst had made the recommendation quite a while ago, and they were not getting her on the agenda. So we kind of bulldogged some stuff through, and I'm happy to report that September 10th and 11th, they're actually going to be meeting with Dr. Herbst to discuss getting the ICD-10 updated. And I feel really hopeful about that. So I think that we're going to be able to do that kind of advocacy work to get people to recognize lipedema on the international stage and continue doing that kind of work. So I'm really proud that it's been formed.
Well, collective applause, and you should be proud. I love how you make things happen, Susan O'Hara. Every time I turn around, you've written another book. I don't know how you do it. I know how long it takes me to write a book, and yet you just spit them out for our audience who may not be familiar about the books you've written. Can you share some of the titles?
Sure. I think my number one seller is the Aqua Therapy for Lipedema and Lymphedema book. And that really is a passion work where I spent a lot of time working with a physical therapist, going through research from a lady named Dr. Dorit Tidhar, who Linda Ann actually was able to meet with in person and learn some of her exercises in person and really dug into the research to come up with some exercises that will help ladies out when you all know we feel so hopeless, like we just can't get anything done with our lipedema. So that's my bestseller. And then the second bestseller is called Jeans on a Beach Day. And it is the personal stories of several different women and their challenges with getting diagnosis and then their treatment pathways and stuff like that. So I have several more, but those are the two that really seem to sell the most. And I'm happy. I sell them on Amazon, but if anybody wants PDFs of any of my books, I'm happy to just email them to you because I think especially that aqua therapy book, it is so important to get into people's hands that you need it for free. And so email me at legslikemine@gmail.com and I'll send you the PDFs. No questions asked.
That is so generous of you, and I'm always an admirer of your generosity as well. Susan, we're so glad. We're going to circle back to you because we want to hear about footwear too at some point, but you mentioned aqua therapy, and it is some summertime, and it's hot, and if you can get near a pool, what a blessing that is. But I also, and several of you can speak to this topic. Susie Boshoff, you had a post that you pinned you in a pool talking about the fact that the pressure in a pool is higher than medical grade compression. So you're a fan, right?
Yeah, I think it's I think it's probably the most important type of exercise we can do. And for women like us that feel really heavy, it's so hard to move. And it's like, it's that little bit of freedom to be able to move. And even if we just sit in it and kick our legs or walk, but even I was surprised when Dr. Herb said, even if after long travel, just get in a bathtub because it's still a foot of water. If you can, if that's available, or get into the pool. So I try to all the time.
And I loved your post about that. Now, last month we were all excited for Angelique, who had gone back to the gym, and she was making great strides and seeing how the physical movement was helping her mental health too. After we got off of the roundtable last month, Lippy Butterfly had a terrible fall. And we were all just so concerned for her. And I'm so glad that you're here to talk about that, because falling is probably one of the greatest fears for a lipedema patient. How did you handle it? What can we learn from it? How did being in the pool and doing your strength training help you with that? And I want anybody else to jump in on this topic because it really is germane to our audience. So, Angelique, we're so glad you're here and that you're better.
Let me just say, it was heartbreaking. I think that the emotional pain, especially in the moment, was more than what I was feeling in the physical pain. Like I feel like the landing was kind of soft, but it was on one knee. So I'm still recovering from a really, really bad bruise where I fell. It was really, really painful. And I had to travel the following week. So that was just kind of really hard on my body. But I will say that especially having that about a month time of getting back into the pool, getting back into the gym, it did wonders for my like emotional recovery time, as well as like my ability to get back into the routine that I wanted. I wanted to get back into the pool, so I just was not going to take another week off or the entire time that I was in Indianapolis off. I needed to get back into there. And I also knew that the compression, as Susie was talking about, would help. All of that circulation would help the bruise to move around and all that type of stuff. To one of the points that Susie made, though, about the liberation in the pool, if any of you guys have ever met me at like one of the FDRSs or anything like that, you know, I'm in a wheelchair, you know, I use a walker, I move very, very slow. And I've always got some sort of assistance with me, like whether it be with a person or a device, most of the time, several devices and maybe even several people. But the pool is my one area where I can let go of all of it. I can let go of my caregiver. I can let go of my walker. I can let go of my wheelchair. And I am free to move around as I want to. One of the things that came up earlier this week was I said to myself, like, since I have this freedom, I find myself doing way more than I do in my outside of the pool life. So when I get in the pool, I'm in there jumping around and running, and I'm having a good time that I can't have, that I want to have, but this body limits me in. Like, I want to dance, I want to run around and jump around and skip and this, that, and the other. So in the pool is my time of freedom there. So like, I like the fact that there was healing elements that came, especially from the fall, with being able to get back into the pool. And I also did get back into the gym. But there's also emotional healing elements for people that are experiencing a lot of pain, number one, a lot of mobility issues, or even just that feeling of heaviness that can weigh you down emotionally all the time. So giving yourself that time in the pool to just be free of all of that trauma that you're carrying on the outside and the inside does wonders for you. So get in the pool.
Ah, well, I am so grateful to feel your energy tonight and know that you are right back on the upswing, because that initial traumatic event had us all sort of swooping in. And, you know, Pattie Cornute, I think about you, the very reason you started mobility exercises was because you did not want to fall and not be able to get up. And so look at your journey now. I'm really proud of you, Lippy, for strengthening yourself so that you could handle this. But are there best practices when it comes to a fall? How do we respond? Especially if you're alone.
I had to call 911. I think that might have been what was more embarrassing about the situation, is that I thought that maybe I had gained enough strength to at least be able to prop myself up onto my very low rise bed. But I was not there. And so that little bit of a realization that I wasn't there hit me like a ton of bricks. But on the flip side of that, I was able to get from my bathroom to my bedroom where my phone was at. So that was the ability to move from one room to another room while I was still on the ground was something that I did not have before. I would have had to like figure out how to like roll there or scream or holler or something. So there was that, but like at that point, then having these strangers come into your house and have to like lift you up, and it was a very simple process, but also very embarrassing, kind of refortitude what Pattie had said about that need to be able to get off of the floor. And I think that's where my heart has been over this past month, is just in, even though I'm at a point where I can get into the pool and I can recover better than I had with previous falls and stuff like that, I still am not to that point where I can get my own self off the floor, and that does not feel good.
Absolutely not. Jenny, what is this about a fatties pool day? What are you, what?
There in Massachusetts, there's a fat positive organization that's advocating to eliminate or to add to the things that are anti-discrimination is body size. And so part of their advocacy and fundraising, they have these really cool events. And in the summer, it includes a fatties beach party and a fatties pool day. And I missed that. I went to the pool day a couple of years ago. It sells out. It's a blast, you know, and it's just a really fun thing. Yeah.
I learned
all sorts of
so
new
much. And PGP.
Yeah, I'm part of a group here in Pittsburgh called Yins Bopo, and it's a body positive group, and we arrange for pool days, and we also do like clothing swaps or like different events like that, because I mean you get a ton of clothes that you either outgrow one way or the other, or you just outgrow it in like, I don't like that style anymore, and it's expensive clothing. So you just swap it all around at the events. And there's also a group in Ohio that I know of, and I think New Jersey. There's like a whole bunch of them. Yeah.
This is news to me, and maybe to some of the folks in our audience, whether they're watching live or on the recording. Angelique, did you want to add something to that? Because I saw your hand go up too.
Yeah, this weekend in Arizona is Swim Thick.
Swim Thick.
Swim Thick. It might be for a more hip hoppy type crowd, but if you're in Arizona and you want to have a fatties pool day, Swim Thick this weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Wow. See, if you attend the live, then you get the inside info about what to do this weekend. I'm totally interested in it. You know, in the pneumatic compression world, there are those that say higher pressures are dangerous. And to your point, Susie, the pool gives you higher pressures. Karen, I love when you explain pool pressure and compression. Can you do that for us? Because the Lympha press can go to very high pressures, which is why it is so effective for the lipedema patient. But I will give you the floor, Karen Ashforth.
Oh, well, this is one of my favorite topics because a lot of people became scared of compression. And for some people, compression can be painful if it's not handled the right way. Bottom line is, it needs to be comfortable. It needs to fit correctly, whether it's a garment or a pump or a pool. You know, it needs to fit your body and feel good. But to your point, Brenda, the amount of pressure underwater, each foot of water is 22.5 millimeters of mercury compression. So that's the pretty much the threshold for medical grade compression is 20 to 30. So 1 foot, and that's why the bathtub is one of my favorite solutions for people, if all else fails. But imagine if you're in a pool up to your neck, you're going to get maybe 100 millimeters of mercury at your feet. And the water is a gradient compression. So the deeper you go, the more pressure you have. The closer to the surface, the less pressure you have. So if you want to get all of you compressed, you can do some deep dives, and that works really well. People swimming at the surface get very little benefit from the compression of water. It's that deep water exercise, even pool walking or treading water, it's all good. So that's my soapbox. And 100 millimeters of mercury is higher than most pumps go. And there is a lot of research out there that is supporting high pressure, in the 90 millimeters of mercury range or above for people who have severe fibrosis. I think with lipedema, you got to go with comfort. You got to go with what feels good and what feels right. And if it's too wimpy, it may not feel right either.
Yeah, in fact, I have heard from so many of our patients that it actually feels good, the tight squeeze on the limbs, and I'm seeing lots of nodding faces. And in fact, next month, everybody, Marcia Witt is going to be with us and talk about her journey from Roundtable to getting a prescription to connecting with her Lympha Press rep to now having a Lympha Press. If you've wondered how that journey can work and how Lympha Press can advocate for you, next month is going to be great. Linda Ann, I saw you nodding when we were talking about the pool. So I definitely, before you have to leave us, I want to give you a chance to weigh in on aqua therapy or compression or whatever you've learned in the last month that we can learn from you.
Well, first of all, I have Susan O'Hara's book in my clinic, and I show every single patient when I'm telling them self-care about the book. So thank you, Susan. And it's fantastic. And I love how you describe that with the pressure, Karen, much better than I describe it. I just tell them the deeper you go. So the pool is so wonderful because it's not heavy on your joints. You can have fun like that, like the Lippy Butterfly says. And it's just the most amazing therapy. So I think every lipedema patient should be in the pool. And I was at a retreat on Saturday for myofascial release therapists. And we were in the pool and letting go and supporting each other in the pool. So that's another thing, is just total relaxation in the pool.
Well, your webinar, The Issues Are in the Tissues, is groundbreaking stuff. It lives on the Lympha Press website. I will say that I recently had a deep massage. It wasn't just a massage, it was deep work. And next thing you know, I was sobbing like I had not cried in years. And the therapist who was attuned to this said, that's trapped trauma and you're releasing it. And I mean, I'm with all of you experts all the time, and yet it was still shocking to me that my tissues and my cells were holding on to old pain. I felt like a boulder had been lifted off of me. Have any of you any of you had that kind of an experience? And if not, I recommend it highly. Pattie, speak to that for a moment.
Yeah, I've had that, not the training personally, but I've had somebody do that on me. And the discussion that came up when I was doing the research for the fascial manipulation courses that I had taken was somebody talking about, we go to therapy to verbally try to release the trauma and talk and work through it, but there's actually ways that you can physically release the trauma and not have to physically relive it. So it was really powerful, that part of the research that I was doing.
Wow. So people are asking, what did I have done? It wasn't your normal massage. It was deep body work. She dealt with the vagus nerve, which Linda Ann, you've spoken about that at length as well. And next thing you know, I'm sobbing like a baby. So, we all have stuff. whether we have lipedema or not, we all have stuff, and freedom is the win as far as I'm concerned. Karen Ashforth, you are working toward freedom from so many things when it comes to lipedema, and you have an exciting announcement to make about a research study you're doing with Dr. Karen Herbst, Lympha Press's Chief Medical Officer. Tell us about it.
Oh, I'm so excited. This is the launch here. You are the first to hear about it. And I'm going to drop an email in the chat, and you are welcome to spread that through your social media. We are going to be recruiting subjects, but not yet. We have to get the project approved through the Institutional Review Board. So I think we'll probably be doing our subject recruitment closer to October. But right now, I am looking for research assistants who would like to volunteer with this project. You get to work with me and Dr. Herbst. You get the possibility of publishing. We will be on site in Tucson from late January through late March, and I can give you details if you want to email me. This is so exciting. I was hoping that I could have a PDF that I could post, but Dr. Herbst and I haven't quite ironed out all the details yet. But if you email me, I'll be sure to give you information as soon as it becomes available. And I did do a webinar back in December for Lympha Press talking about a pilot study that I did a couple of years ago and presented it at the same conference that Susan mentioned in Potsdam, Germany, the first inaugural World Lipedema Congress. So this research is going to be an extension of my pilot study. And Dr. Herbst and I have been talking about it for a few years, and we've been sending articles back and forth to each other and getting really excited, and it's really, really going to happen. We have dates, and so I want to invite people to check this out. I wish I could give you more details about all of this, but I will be sending out more as it unfolds. But anyone who doesn't want to be a subject, but is interested in research, or if you know someone who might be an ally, who might be a good person to stand with us during this, we're going to be recruiting 4 research assistants, and it's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have a blast for a couple of months.
What are the criteria to be a research assistant? Because we know that our audience is primarily patients, but some of them have really robust backgrounds.
So you can't be a subject and a research assistant both. So you have to choose. And I know that those of you with lipedema who make the effort to go to Tucson for a couple of months are probably going to want to be subjects. So that's why I'm saying, if you know of allies, you don't have to have a specific medical background or even a research background. I think just an understanding and simpatico for lipedema and a burning desire to advance knowledge and help give women better treatment options and advance the knowledge in this field. So that's really it. I mean, we're not looking for people that have advanced degrees. We're looking for people who want to help.
Love it. Thank you for honoring us with this information. Pattie Cornute.
Can you be remote?
Nope. No, it has to be on site. I know. I would love it if we could do this remotely, but it's not going to be practical to do that. But I'm hoping that with the information that we gain from this study, that we are going to empower women to be able to treat themselves remotely.
I love that. And Angelique, your face is doing so many things right now.
You know, I'm excited. They said they're 2 hours down the street from me and you have to be there locally. I am in there.
All right. Well,
girlfriend.
And what would be very cool about that is you can come back and report on your experiences. That would be copacetic, right, Karen?
You bet. And I just noticed Shelley just dropped a question in, and any questions, it's great. This is not a paid position. This is a volunteer position. We have no formal funding for this study, but we are not charging subjects for treatment. So this is all a labor of love.
And this is a research project toward the goal of women managing their condition remotely. Nita Cluis puts in the comments, and appropriately so, Kaz Windsor does treat people remotely with the Windsor method. And there are different things and modalities remotely, but you are focusing on studying. Can you say it in one sentence, Karen? Or no?
Well, just
Is it
managing
too
the whole
soon?
ball of wax.
Okay.
Pain, the fibrosis, the function, all of that. So my email is, and I'm going to drop it in the chat, is lipedemastudy@gmail.com. How
Perfect.
simple is that?
Simple. We love it. And Susan O'Hara, I see you taking copious notes there, because I'm sure that you and the American Lipedema Association are going to jump all over this too. Is there anything you wanted to add to the conversation at this point, or questions you might have?
No, I think this is really great information. And having worked with Karen before, she was so kind to let me write a blog about her presentation that she gave in Potsdam too. I'm super excited about it. And anybody who gets to spend time with Karen, just as a human being, her vibe is so good and she's got such good energy. It would be a fantastic experience. I'm thinking about moving to Tucson.
Somehow it wouldn't surprise me. And I saw another hand. Was it you, Jenny Bogine? Yeah.
I just wanted to mention that somebody posted the December presentation that Karen did that might give more hints to the insights as to what the research might be.
Yes, and we will definitely put that in the show notes as well. Linda Ann.
I just wanted to say that I heard Karen give that presentation in Potsdam, and it was fantastic, and it was an absolute honor that she was invited amongst all the physicians to give that talk. So Sharon, you're wonderful.
You know, I don't know. I'm feeling all the love. Here's what I love about the lipedema community. Well, this is what my greatest hope for is, that the love wins, the support for everybody doing their thing, you know, and everybody's doing a different thing, but we can do it in unity and collaboratively and support. You know, we've got brilliant minds here on the screen and in our participant chat. And together we can make a difference. And I absolutely love that. Go ahead, Susie. Did you want to say something? I sort of see you, or are you just in agreement? Yeah, she's in agreement. All right, we have a lot more to talk about. Linda Ann, if you have to leave, I perfectly understand. But can we just show Linda Ann some love for showing up every month, bringing her amazing spirit and insight and wisdom? We adore you, Linda Ann, and we'll see you next month. You have a great meeting tonight. I know you're doing aromatherapy when you leave. Okay, we got some stuff to talk about here and trying to remain calm about it. But last month, Pattie Cornute reported about her experience with Wegovy, and then the challenge of insurance causing her to not be able to take it anymore. And you've had impacts as a result of that. Do you mind sharing, Pattie?
Not at all. The main issue of coming off the medication was because it was so drastic. It went from being on it to off of it. So I wasn't weaned off of it. It just stopped because of the change in insurance, which meant all the inflammation that I had experienced leaving my body suddenly came flooding back in. And so the different like the areas in the skin folds not having rashes anymore now have rashes. It's now back to being very mindful of that. The inflammation around my jawline has come back. There's more pain with that. The lobules in my inner thighs grew again. So my mobility went back to being the way it was. And then I had other things happen. Like I got a Bartholin gland cyst show up. I had dry eye show up. And a lot of that is based on this inflammation that was in my body. And so I worked with my typical methods of relieving that stuff, and had some great insight from people who had other ways of dealing with it online, and everybody was so supportive. And thankfully I've kind of worked finally through all of those flare-up things, and it's just dealing with the other part of it. I've been to see my doctor. We had a follow-up appointment, and she's flummoxed. It makes no sense with the denial that the insurance company is giving. So we are shifting gears a little bit and kind of looking at some other options, and then we'll go from there.
Pattie, I honor you always for bringing your personal experience with such candor. And, you know, we love to celebrate the highs, and we feel for you with the challenges. This connection between dry eye and the inflammation, that post fascinated me. And then you've also, this post that you had recently about we are tuning forks. Can you speak to that for a moment?
I would love to. I had the absolute pleasure, honor of attending Gil Headley's nervous system presentation. And he's the fascia guy that I fell in love with, and the fascial fuzz. And that was the intro into fascia for me a couple of years ago. And he's doing an 111 city tour around the country with his caravan and his partner, and they're going and they're giving their presentation, which is extremely fascinating. I mean, he is a dissection specialist, so it can be very graphic, and he told you don't need to have notes, you don't need to write down the words, because the images alone are going to give you the education you need. And so the tour was, or the presentation was, all about the nervous system and how he had to strip away pretty much everything to get to the nervous system. And at one point in the presentation, he took a tuning fork and he, hit it to vibrate. And he said, do you know that when you have a vibrating tuning fork and you bring it next to another one that's not been, hit, it makes that one vibrate too. And then he went in to talk about us and the earth and mushrooms and just all these other fascinating parts of our world. As we do that. Wow. We are vibration, whether it's positive or being upset or being aggressive or whatever, that all vibrates. And that's just everywhere in our world. So I was just like, we're tuning forks.
I loved that post, and I am a true believer, and I see you even nodding and smiling, Karen Ashforth, as well. When you are around people that they're energy vampires and their vibration brings you down. And, we are the CEOs of our own life, and managing who has access to us wherever possible. Even before we went recording tonight, Jenny and I were talking about how, we limit exposure to certain people and certain things. You are managing lipedema. You also are the CEO of the energy that surrounds you, and boundaries are so important. How do you all set up your boundaries, or have you made decisions about, Kara, you get DMs all the time, sometimes insulting and offensive comments because you put yourself out there. How do you protect yourself from those negative tuning forks?
It really depends. Like, I was really bad about it at first. It really bothered me, every single one. Then it got to a point where I'm kind of numb, and to the point of that's the most creative thing you can come up with. I've been compared to a whale my whole life. You're not creative. And then it gets to a point where it's I've had so many in a row, and the one little one will be okay, that's the breaking point, I've had enough. And I'll be upset about it for a day or so, and then it kind of resets. But yeah, I mean, I look at it as, even though all the negative comments are coming in, it's just driving the traffic to my post about lipedema. And so it's getting it out there to people that at this moment they're making fun of me because a lot of them seem to be very young. But in the future, there could be a female relative of theirs that ends up developing and looking like how I did. And then they put it together. So it's getting out there to people, whether they want to hear about it or not. So I kind of just.
That's encouraging. Did you want to add something, Angelique? And then Susan, you're smiling. I want to go to you too about this boundary issue, but Angelique, go for it.
I did. Pattie had another post over this past week about another experience that she had with her car stopping in the middle of the road. And one of the things that she said in that post was that we were responsible for how we reacted to situations. It reminded me of a couple of situations after I came out of the nursing home and I was just experiencing life again. And I had my car stopped right in the middle of an intersection once. I dropped a knife in a kitchen once, and these episodes became triggers for like panic attacks. But it took me actually realizing that I was in control of how I responded in that situation. But to that point of it being a tuning fork, the day that my car broke down in the middle of the intersection, the fact that I had a panic attack made the person driving also have a panic attack. So it made me kind of realize that, true enough, when I am overreacting to a situation, and I'm not saying that every panic attack is an overreaction, but if my reaction is so overwhelming to the person next to me, then that person next to me, in a lot of cases for myself, they need to take care of me. So if I'm responding so outrageously that they can't concentrate on what they need to do, then I need to tune in how I'm reacting to things. And the same with just all of the elements that you receive in life, because it doesn't feel good to receive all the stares and stuff, but like how I respond to those stares actually gives reference to how those people interact with me. If I respond with a smile, they a lot of times respond with a smile. If I respond with giving them a snarl and cussing them out, which I have before, they end up saying even nastier things to me. So I think that goes back to that. We are tuning forks. We are going to vibrate. And a lot of that comes down to what our reactions are. Life, we can't control, but what we can control is how we react to what's going on.
Drop the mic. Angelique Charles, Lippy Butterfly. We can't control what happens to us. We can only control our response. Beautifully said. I want to go to Susan O'Hara and Karen Ashforth. You have been a busy bee in chat answering questions. I want to go to some of those for the benefit of our audience that's watching the recording. But Susan O'Hara, jump in and share us your insights.
Yeah, so I'm just going to say that boundaries are one of my weaknesses in life. And Kara is one of the people that I started following very, very early on in my lipedema journey. And what I love about Kara is that, I mean, I think a lot of us, we've experienced our lifetime where we've had lots and lots of comments come in, and you either develop a thick skin and you just let it bounce off of you, or you absorb it. And I've seen times especially whenever somebody mailed you some snack or something, Kara, and somebody said something, they're like, why are you eating whatever it was, Oreos or Kit Kats or whatever it was? And you were like, I'm not having it. And you called them out. And I learned a lot of lessons from watching the way that you dealt with it. Like, you shut them down so fast. Like, I have a right to have a snack too. And I wish I was more like that, but I am learning from watching people who are strong that way and don't just absorb all the evil, you know? So thank you, Kara, for that.
Well said. Well said.
I'm so bad with boundaries. Like, Levi and I just had a conversation about this the other day. But in some instances, I'm not so bad about it. But I had one of my followers from the UK sent me a gluten-free Twix cookie, because Twix aren't gluten-free here in the US. And I made a post about it, thanking her, because she sent it over. And I got so much hate for it. And I'm like, one cookie is not going to change like how I am. But as much as I have no problem calling out people that deserve to be called out, one of the ways I've started reacting differently to people, especially small children, because small children, mommy, look at her big butt, mommy, she's fat, like, they don't know, because like that's just kids. I've started turning around, and instead of being like mad or upset or like anything, because the mom instantly goes into like embarrassed mode, I go, yeah, that's because some people have medical conditions or something wrong with them that the doctor needs to fix. And there's nothing wrong with being fat, because I hate them. Like when the parent comes in, it's like, don't say that, it's me. Like, because then you're just teaching them that fat is something wrong. And I feel like we need to stop that earlier on. So like I get it a lot at the pool because they see my like tattoos, especially because they're kid related. And so like I get a lot of like, mommy, she's fat, or look at the fat lady with the tattoos. Like, and then the moms are all like embarrassed and like, don't say that, and I'm like, no, it's fine. I am fat. And this is why. And sometimes there's things that like make people bigger, and it's just how it is. And then like, and then I turn to the mom and say, it's okay, I'm not like, they'll be like, it's okay. Because the parent is all like, I'm sorry. I'm like, no, it's fine. It's I'd much rather have it from a small child than like the asshole teenagers that should know better.
Really, really inspiring. And I love your approach to, no, it's okay. Yeah, I am fat. And here's why. It's a teaching moment. Some people were saying in chat, these are all teachable moments as well. I appreciate that so much about you. So there is a medical question that came in from Sandy Darley. Hi, Sandy. We're so glad you're with us tonight. She asks, Karen Ashforth, can you please share the difference in massage therapy, manual lymph drainage for lipedema versus lymphedema?
That is a really, really great question. So first, I'd like to say that there are people with lipedema who do not have swelling. And then there are also people with lipedema who do have swelling. And there can be a number of reasons for that swelling. So manual lymphatic drainage is a technique that was invented to move fluid. So for people who have swelling, what it does is it's kind of like chasing water down the bathtub towards the drain. And that's basically it in a nutshell. Now, with lipedema without swelling, there can be tremendous pain. There can be nodules that can really, really hurt. And so there are some manual techniques that can actually help relieve pain. They're not specifically always manual lymphatic drainage, because I have a whole huge toolbox full of tons of tools that I use for my patients. So I would have to say that for people who do have swelling, manual lymph drainage is great. But if it's just straight lipedema, there's all kinds of tricks and tools and things that can be helpful.
Is there anything that you want to share that perhaps the general audience is not aware of? We talk at length, of course, about Lympha Press pneumatic compression therapy. And if anybody in our audience has not experienced a Lympha Press, please do visit lymphapress.com. We would love to connect you with a rep that can help you out. We've talked about vibration plates. We talked about aquatics. Is there anything else on your radar screen on the cutting edge of therapies that we may not know about?
Tons and tons of stuff, but it's not stuff that I would necessarily set you loose on without looking at your body first, because I think that every individual is different. And there are some techniques that if you don't use them right, they can actually hurt you. So I hate to be mysterious in this way, but gosh, if I see you at FDRS next year, come up and talk to me. Or I know someone's going to be at Lighthouse in October, and I'm going to be speaking there. I'm so happy to talk to people at conferences. It's so much easier to connect the dots than to speak real abstractly.
It's true. And we never offer specific medical advice in these roundtables. Clearly, the medical professionals that see you in person are best equipped to help you. There was a question that did come in, and I don't know how we can navigate this, but it's about pharmaceuticals. She did not have a tolerance for the Ozempic, and after a while for metformin. I don't know if I'm saying that properly. She's under a lot of stress. This is an anonymous attendee. She has experienced everything from upset stomach, hair loss, vision issues. Her essence of her question is, can we access help when we have serious medical reactions to drugs? Is there any kind of support? And I wouldn't know how to advise this person regarding this. You know, clearly you would definitely talk to your doctor, but is there any recourse when there are severe problems as a result of taking a pharmaceutical drug? Anybody got anything on that? Except a heartfelt, we feel for you. And I'm glad you stopped because your body was telling you something, but go ahead, Susie.
I would like to speak to this just from a couple of different viewpoints. One, this is what makes the community amazing because, you know, many of us have multiple comorbidities as well as just lipedema. I have lipedema, lymphedema. I found out I had Lyme by lab test, which I didn't know I had, and pretty advanced. And it was a beast to get under control when you don't catch it early. And I will tell you that there's lots of reasons why the body can reject certain pharmaceuticals. There can be nutritional, and I'm not giving you medical advice. I'm telling you that this comes from the really attaching yourself to the community. And it can be everything from eating things that are rough on your body at the stage you're at. It can be certain things like metformin causes certain nutritional deficiencies. And if you're not aware of what those are and compensating for that, you can have an intense reaction. Like, so obviously you need some kind of care. If you can find a really good qualified naturopath, and I realize that this is out of pocket and it can feel crazy, but sometimes there's simple things that you can do to change it. I don't react well to any medication and I'm not on any medication, but I see somebody every single week and I alternate between drainage. And sometimes I take binders because my body's releasing toxins and has no way to get it out. So it's a whole science in and of itself. But you have a community that's here, and we really do share a lot of what works for each of us, and hopefully that helps.
It does. Thank you so much, Susie. And also in chat, people are saying that some people benefit from investigational medical professionals, and that right on the packaging of the pharmaceuticals is usually a number that you can call to make a report of some sort. We are with you. We hope that you are taking care of yourself mentally and emotionally, and that your physical symptoms get better. Anonymous attendee. You know, before we went live to Jenny, you and I were talking because you are on Zepbound. And you were interested to know if that would in any way impact your food sensitivities.
Yep.
Because, you know, and you had a test because it's vacation time, you were on vacation and you ate some things that you normally stay away from. And the result was?
Yep, I still react to it all. Yay. So, you know, the food sensitivities don't, you know, the GLP, so Zepbound is both a GLP-1/GIP, and generally has less side effects than some people experience on the Ozempic Wegovy's. And for me, I really kind of worked with my doctor to do this, and fortunate to have insurance that is covering it at the moment. For the inflammation, the anecdotal things that I've heard about the inflammation going away and about the pain, the lipedema pain that Pattie experienced and I also experienced when I started it. And that's such value to me. So I'm actually staying on a fairly low dose of Zepbound, but I was, you know, wondering if that would change some of the food sensitivities because things are changing. And the answer is no, those things still happen, you know. So I had some grapes and some pineapple and some rice, and yeah, you know, the pain was in my joints a lot more than it has been for months and things like that. So so that was kind of interesting that I still need to be very attuned to the things that I have histamine reactions to, which is a lot of different things. So, but I continue at the 5 level because that inflammation and the pain is so dramatically decreased.
Wow, we're so glad. Wow.
Yeah. And there was one other thing I was going to say about that, but now I can't remember. Oh, well.
Well, we got to squeeze in a few more things. We've got about 10 minutes left. I still want to talk shoes with Susan O'Hara, so hold that thought. But question about acupuncture for lipedema. Karen Ashforth, any thoughts on that?
Boy, I am racing to my internet to Google that because I have not heard of any studies about lipedema and acupuncture. That doesn't mean that they're not out there, but I can tell you that there have been a number of studies about acupuncture and lymphedema because a lot of people are concerned about the risk of infection. And oh, how about that? Here's something, lipedema and Chinese medicine. Wonder what kind of rabbit hole that is. Oh, no, that's a body mind wellness center. So no, the answer is I don't know of any studies that have been done. I, however, have to tell you that there are all kinds of acupuncture or Chinese medicine modalities that can be helpful for lipedema. And I'm a huge advocate of the balancing effects of acupuncture. So even though I can't speak from research, I can tell you that myself and my patients love it.
Thank you for sharing that. And, sometimes we don't have a definitive answer, and we are going to be clear with you because we don't want to mislead anybody, but I appreciate the anecdotal. And I also have experienced benefit from acupuncture. Francine Swartz has a friend who has a stubborn wound post-op. And she was saying that expression of the wound, even pulling out lipedema nodules, is bad for us. Broad brush question, is that so? Can we speak to that? Francine, thanks for the question. I'm not sure that we can answer it, but we're at least posing it. Got nothing for you, Francine, except a whole lot of love. Got a whole lot of love. I had to do a little Led Zeppelin there for everybody. I have to burst into song at least once every hour. Shoes. One of my favorite subjects, because no matter what happens with my body, usually my shoe size stays the same. And for lipedema patients, finding fashionable shoes can be a challenge, which Susan O'Hara, dun, 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 to the rescue. Tell us what's going on with your shoe project.
Yeah, so it's actually been pretty fun. I'm going to turn around for a second and grab a pair. So I've been working on several different pairs with it. I have a design team from the UK that's been working with me, and the Talk Lipedema and Lipedema UK ladies are close in proximity to where my team is. So they've been doing some fit testing for me. This is where we are right now, and I'm going to try and hold it up. So this is a loafer. My mom's wearing the red one right now, and it's double depth. And it's a square toe construction with a really good, sturdy base and all that stuff. If you can see, I've got my hand in there. It's got a little V design. It's a gusset without elastic in it. And so your foot can swell and it doesn't poof out of the top. But what's kind of cool about these, and let's see if I can get it out, it has multiple inserts inside it, so that you can change the height inside your shoe. So if you're having a swelling day, or if you're like me, like my left foot is way bigger than my right foot in sort of thickness, you can put the insert in one and not in the other. My mom loves them. She wears them daily, and we've designed them so they have, you probably can't see this up here, but there's a little tiny loop on either side where you can change out adornments on the top of it. So you can, on one day, you can put pearls on it or sparkles on it or a ribbon through it or whatever to change it for multiple occasions. So it kind of increases the value of your investment. So these are being fit tested, and we are on our 6th round of prototypes right now. The lady in the UK she's like, it's a little bit loose in the heel still. Everything in the front is perfect, but I'm going to tell you guys something that's going to make you laugh too.
We want to laugh.
I've been working with a Brazilian company, and they gave me an app, and it actually is like, hold your foot here, and it scans your foot, scans your leg, everything, right? And then you pick out the color and the design you want, and 5 days later, you have a shoe that fits your foot perfectly show up in the mail. So I'm fit testing their stuff right now. I've got a pair of Birkenstock looking shoes, And then a pair of custom tennis shoes that are pink that are adorable, and they are the best fitting pair of shoes. So I'm working with them too. I asked him to try out a pair of boots for me. And again, you guys, you're gonna die laughing, and it is okay to laugh because when this showed up in the mail, I just about died. I said to them, make me something crazy, right? And this is their first attempt at boots ever. So when my mail comes the other day, ugh, this shows up in the mail. It's a ugly moon boot. You have to laugh because
I wear it.
I think my husband might wear it with like a Captain America costume or something. It is horrible. So you win a few, you lose a few. And I told him, I was like, I really appreciate your efforts. It's very creative, but my ladies really are just kind of looking for like a black leather with a like a little riding boot heel. Like we don't need the crazy. We just want what everybody else does. So anyway, I do not know what I'm going to.
I love that you shared that though. Now, how can people find out more about this project?
Yeah. So, I mean, follow me on any of the socials, right? Legs
Okay.
Like Mine.
Legs Like
And
Mine.
yeah,
Okay.
and as soon as I have the pairs, because I want the fit to be perfect before we actually sell these to folks, because if you're investing $200 in a pair of shoes, you want them to fit correctly, right? So it is
Yes.
taking a little bit more time, but I post progress from time to time on there. And the red ones are adorable. My mom gets compliments on them all the time, you know. So it coming soon, I will have the other ones that the designers are working on with the Brazilian team. What the Brazilian team needs is the design style, because this, I don't want to see everybody walking around FDRS wearing this.
Where's the fire? It looks like fire boots, you know, except a little bit.
They're so
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing it. And by the way, Susan, thank you for all you do for the lipedema community. We appreciate you. We love how smart you are and how dedicated you are and how you make things happen. We're glad you're on this team. We appreciate and honor you. And thank you so much for being here tonight. Now, we just have 4 minutes left. So everybody, words to encourage our audience. Think about something that will lift their hearts. Everybody gets 20 to 30 seconds. And I'm going to start with Karen Ashforth.
Oh, gosh. Well, you guys don't know this, but we're signing papers to sell our house tomorrow. And we are in the process of moving. I've got boxes everywhere, and I've spent the whole day cleaning my new place. And I love being here. And switching energy can be as easy as flipping a switch if you're with good people.
Ooh, that is so juicy and good. I love it. Thank you. And you always switch our energy to the upward part. Susie Boshoff.
Oh man. Well, I'm just going to say, the most important thing that I'm focusing on right now are the things that bring me joy. And I'm not because there's a lot going on in the world and in our lives. And I've had health challenges, and I just keep focusing on what is good and what brings me joy. And I do more of that, whatever that is. It doesn't matter if it's just hugging my granddaughter or calling one of my kids or having coffee with a friend, like that mental space of all the beautiful things is that's where I'm living right now. And I feel like that's important for everybody.
It is. It's good advice. Thank you, Susie. Jenny Bojine.
Well, I've been on vacation, so I've just been enjoying myself, which I think is really important. And I think it's sometimes really good to get out of thinking and dealing with everything that just we have to deal with on a daily basis. But I've had this little Post-it note by my workstation for a couple of months, and it just kind of is something that makes me think. And it was something that I read that said, happiness is fleeting, but satisfaction endures. So I always try to do those things that bring me satisfaction.
Now I could do Rolling Stones right now. I did Zeppelin.
Yeah, you could.
I could do Rolling Stones. I will not. I will spare you all. Kara Cruz, who went and saw Childish Gambino, and I'm totally jealous. How would you encourage our audience tonight?
just going along with what Jenny said about like vacation and celebrating like the small little things. Like I've kind of been on a staycation the last week. We were supposed to go on a trip and ended up staying home, but we did little things. We went up to Lake Erie for a day at the beach and the water with the teens, and we went around Pittsburgh to, you know, have Levi see that for the first time early. And then I saw 2 Gambino concerts. And to testify with the whole like what surgeries have done, the first concert I did not realize was standing only, and we were in line from 5:45, and then the concert didn't start till 8. He didn't come on till 9. It wasn't done till like 11, and then I had to walk to the car a half hour. So from like 5:45 to 11:30, I was on my feet the whole time, and was able the next day to get up and go shopping and do things and not be limping as bad as I thought I was going to be. So the surgeries have definitely, like, I wouldn't have been able to do that before. There's just no way.
It's beautiful to see you enjoying your life. We love seeing that, and we're rooting for you all the way. And you too, Levi, in the corner there. You can put your face in there. Yeah. Okay. So Susan O'Hara, Angelique, and then we're done for the night. Wah.
Well, there we go. Okay, so what I want to say to encourage folks is use your skills and your abilities, and don't compare yourself to other people, because everybody has something to contribute at whatever level, at whatever skill set. So do what you can, and sometimes doing what you can for today is to rest and enjoy your own time, and that is a good thing too. So do you do you, and do your best at what you can.
Beautifully said. Thank you so much, Susan. All right, Lippy Butterfly.
There's a popular gospel song that goes, "We fall down, but we get up. We fall down, but we get up." And so after having that fall last month and whatnot, it kind of reminded me of that song. It reminded me of my journey. It has not always been peachy keen. It has not always been this continuous up battle. There has been a lot of down battles. There have been horrible downward spirals. But we get up. We don't have to stay down in that state. We don't have to become subject to what lipedema puts on us. We can get up again. We just have to choose to rise out of that funk, out of that heaviness, out of that depression, out of that fall. We have to get back up.
There's no better way to end another beautiful roundtable. Oh, Pattie, did you want
Pattie!
Pattie, but how do you
If you don't mind.
Pattie, say something.
I'm going to quote Michelle Obama and say, hope is making a comeback.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to this edition of the Lipedema Patient Roundtable, brought to you by Lympha Press, the pneumatic compression pump company that cares about you. We will see you next month, and in the meantime, keep hope alive. Bye-bye.